Hey everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back. My name is Vanessa. I am a psychotherapist. I'm a healer. I am a GLP-1 user. I'm a mom, grandmom, dog grandmom, and I am coming in today because I wanted to introduce a new series that I will be starting in terms of videos that will be focused on the use of GLP-1 medications for Black women. I am looking to call this Wholeness and Wellness as it relates to Black women because we are misrepresented and underrepresented even in this community. We come in and we share our stories, and that's great. I love seeing that. However, we will create our own table to talk about GLP-1 medications as Black women and how we experience these medications, because the percentage of Blacks or African Americans, the clinical trials for Zepbound done were only inclusive of 8% of Blacks or African Americans, and 70+% for whites, 40+% for Latinos, and Asians was a little bit higher, but the lowest was Blacks. There are many factors. One, I mentioned in one of my Mental Health Monday videos that one is because of the mistrust and distrust of the medical institutions and any clinical trials, study, experimentations for Black folks because of the historical reasons. Now, I will get a little bit deeper into that in some upcoming videos because it does make sense as to why we as Blacks and African Americans do not trust medical institutions or experiments or clinical trials. And so we tend to not sign up for them. However, the disproportion in terms of clinical trials are usually lower for those of us who identify as Black or African American. I am particularly interested in the clinical trials done by Eli Lilly as it relates to the GLP-1 medication Zepbound, because they provide more information than what I found for Wegovy, speaking about the populations that they have studied. And so, being as though Blacks and African Americans are at the lower end of the percentage of populations being studied and also included into these clinical trials, that really sparked interest in me, because as a psychotherapist who works with primarily 85% Black or African American women, it's always interesting for me to see the information that's being provided in terms of data when it comes to clinical trials, but also when it comes to the work that I do, because I know there's bad research, there's bad experiments, there's bad trials. From an educational standpoint, when I see numbers, and particularly when the numbers are low for Blacks, and in this case, I am talking about Black women, hence the channel, the Black Woman GLP-1 Experience. This is my opening up the conversation in the room and creating our own table to sit at so that we can talk about our experiences as Black women. Everyone is welcome. However, because of the underrepresentation, this is where my focus is going. And because, again, I work with over 80% Black and African American women, that those women who are using GLP-1 medications and the numbers are increasing, I am noticing a difference from the women that I work with who do not identify as African American or Black. I'm using my scholarly and my practitioner expertise and experience to really dive into a lot of the information. There is not a lot of talk around mental and emotional health. It's mostly around physical health. And so for me, I also want to open the door, Black women to come and sit at this table so that we can begin to talk about these very real experiences. One, feeling as if we are left out of the room, left out of the conversations, left out of the clinical trials. So these GLP-1 medications are tremendously helpful and of great use, and they are improving the physical health, and therefore it trickles down to the mental and emotional health of Black women. And that is where my excitement about this grows. This is where my interest, and as a Black woman myself, I understand the intersections of being Black, being woman, having these expectations that we should be strong enough to do what we need to do, or that we don't need assistance or tools and strategies to help us along to get to healthier versions of ourselves. All of the historical trauma, generational trauma, childhood trauma, developmental trauma, the trauma from being Black and living in this world, what that does to one's not only your mental and emotional health, but your physical health. It is a whole other beast than what someone who may not identify as Black or African American may experience in this world. Not to minimize or undermine anyone's experience, because trauma is trauma, and I say that to the women that I work with. It doesn't matter if it's a big T trauma or a small T trauma. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your religious beliefs, your sexual orientation. Trauma is trauma across the board. However, because I am in the lane of talking about Black women's trauma, I'm going back to the historical trauma of slavery and racism and discrimination, which there is a lot more research being done on, and how it affects, it being racism and discrimination and historical issues and factors such as slavery, and how that impacts the physical health, mental and emotional health of Black or African American individuals in this country. So this is something that's not being talked about. What I'm finding, because I am watching all of your videos and I'm really excited to see everyone. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel, and I do plan to begin a new series called Wholeness and Wellness for Black women. There isn't a space for Black women to talk about their experiences to this degree as it relates to GLP-1 medications, and I want to honor us. I honor the women that I work with, no matter what your race, because I believe there's just one race. We're the human race. We are the human race. For the sake of social constructs, we'll stick with whatever your race is, however you identify. You are welcome here. However, the focus for this series will be for Black women, because we are not honored and or cherished or cared about a lot of the times when it comes to medicine. And so I invite you into the room, to this table, the Black Woman GLP-1 Experience, to begin to talk about your experiences with the GLP-1 medication, your side effects, which will be different. Now, add this too. This is why clinical trials are so important, so that you can look at the diversity. So psychopharmacology, we're developing medications to assist with anxiety or depression or ADHD symptoms. A lot of those medications are studied so that they can see how they may impact white individuals, Asian individuals, Latino individuals, Black individuals, so on and so forth. If you don't know how these medications impact an individual based on their said race, then you could be endangering them. You could be preventing them from experiencing the benefits of these medications. And so I share that briefly just to say that this is similar, that if you're not including diverse populations into these trials at even percentages, not 80% here or 20% there. If you are not saying, okay, let's make this balanced out and let's bring in 25% of this population and 25% of that population, then you are focusing on and promoting the well-being of one group over another. So the upcoming series that I will start, I have Mental Health Mondays. I come in and I do my own updates. And then I also want to start this whole and wellness community for Black women. Again, this is our table to come in, so bring your chairs. When they are looking back over this 20 years from now, they will find Black women and our experiences, and there will be more information for the next generation to come who may be experiencing the same challenges with overweight or obesity. And as there's more knowledge and awareness around obesity being a disease, they will have this information, and GLP-1 medications will probably be a lot more evolved. And so they will have this information to take and use, because we're not in the clinical trials. We're not in the clinical trials at the high numbers. So the next generation of Black girls and women will need this information to help them make informed decisions moving forward. So I am working on a paper, and I will include that in one of the videos once it's completed, and it will be around Black women and GLP-1 use, and we will dive into more of the research that I'm finding, which is very minimum as it relates to Black women. And this is why I am focusing my attention on publishing information that could possibly be helpful in the future for any further clinical trials or any information when we learn more about what GLP-1 medications will do 20 years from now. So they've already been in effect for 20 years. 20 years from now, we'll make it 40, and 30 years from now, it'll be 50 years. So they're going to need more information about us. And so I am going to include myself into this work as a psychotherapist, because I don't see that. I see lots of medical doctors. I see lots of dietitians, but I am not seeing lots of therapists, and particularly Black therapists, to support Black women in their GLP-1 journeys. Let's start talking about this, and let's get deeper with it, because again, 30 years from now, we'll make 50 years of GLP-1 medications evolution, and we want to be a part of the conversation. We want to be in the room, and we want to be able to help our Black girls and women moving forward generations to be able to understand what these medications do to the Black woman body. Okay. All right. So thank you again for watching and joining. I'm wishing you all the best. I look forward to coming in soon, and have an amazing week, and I will see you all then.